If you're a regular watcher of the channel, then you will know that I don't review leather boots. We don't cover leather boots on this channel at all. I don't buy them. But that doesn't mean that I don't like them or I don't like the feeling that they give, which means I'm pretty much constantly on the lookout for a really good leather alternative, so a synthetic leather in other words, something like maybe Nike used to have, even something like Adidas used to have, a really nice leather alternative. And here in this box, I have probably one of the best leather alternatives that I have come across in a really long time. It's a microfiber synthetic that does a fantastic job and is built into a very good football boot. That's all the upsides. The downsides being these had to come all the way from Japan just for me to be able to try them, and they're not available in the European or US boot market. But I might be able to tell you how to get a pair if you are interested. What's up guys, I'm James and welcome to BootWizard Boot Reviews. Today we are going full steam ahead with an Asia only release, which is something that I think is super interesting. So if you do want to see more videos about boots that you can't pick up in a standard European, US, or maybe even an Australian, New Zealand market, then please do hit that like button, get subscribed to the channel, and let me know if you've seen any that you particularly want to cover. I have to give a huge shout out on this one to the Gaijin boot blog who managed to hook me up with these, and if you do want to pick up a pair for yourself, then you need to head over to Tokyo Football. I'll leave a link to his Instagram down in the top comment. He is the man for all of my Asia only releases and he'll ship internationally at phenomenal prices. With all that out of the way, let's get on with the video. But if you haven't already, before we get going, check out patreon.com/bootwizard if you want to, or if you can, support the channel. These boots come from New Balance, and they are the New Balance 442 SP. Now there's various variations of the 442. There's the 442 Pro, which is the one that most of you are probably familiar with, but the 442 SP is a Japan only synthetic upper variation of it. They have a 442 Pro HG, which is for hard ground. There's all kinds of different 442s that you can get when you start looking around. As you can see, I've just whipped those out of the box because there's no extras in there. There's no bag, there's no nothing, but that's completely fine because these boots come in at 130 euros. So they're a very well-priced boot that you can get at really good prices. I'm kind of repeating myself there, but no, they come in at really good price, especially for the quality that you are getting. So taking a look around the boot to start with, you can see you've got this red and white colorway with all of the black New Balance accents. Not a bad looking football boot at all, and it comes in a variety of options. There's a new kind of mainly white out colorway, which I really like. Overall, I'm a huge fan. And I have mentioned already that these are obviously a synthetic leather, so a leather alternative. And as you can see, they strike you immediately like they would be a leather. And look how soft that is. It's beautifully buttery soft, straight out of the box, and definitely could be mistaken for being a leather. Okay, if you put it up against something that's a super premium leather, you're gonna be able to feel the difference in hand and probably on feet. But I would say that as far as a synthetic leather goes, this is excellent. And the way that it's been built with this stitching, so it has a stitching pattern in it the same way that a classic leather boot would, it gives you that padded leather-like feel, which I really enjoy. I think they've done a great job with that. You can also see that this takes the form of a much more traditional football boot. So it's no one piece upper here, and it just has your standard tongue that runs down the middle. So you are moving towards a more traditional leather-like boot. And because this is a Japan release or an Asian release, it does mean that there is a good amount of width through here. funnily, I always find that the advertising or marketing material for these boots with kind of a standard width always say that it's for people with a narrower foot, whereas this is more than wide enough for me, and I would suggest that nearly everybody would be able to pick this up and wear it in the standard width with zero problems at all. And you have a lot of adjustability in the laces with that standard tongue. The tongue itself is made out of what seems to be a very similar material to the upper, but it is quite thin. It tucks around the side really nicely, but which means that it doesn't actually kind of slip or bunch up or anything like that, but it can be quite thin, and if you do pull on the laces, you can end up with a little bit of lace bite. It's not the end of the world, and there is a protective strip down the middle to try and avoid this, but it's probably the least impressive area of the boot for me is this tongue. It really is just kind of a flimsy piece of material, but with the overall construction of the boot, I don't mind it too much. Having said that, that's a bit flimsy. It's not something you can say about any of the rest of the boot. This is a very sturdy, very well put together football boot. The only real transition points from that original synthetic at the front that I was talking about are in the back here, and there is one just about here, but there's no change in the touch. Like, it's a fairly uniform touch in terms of the material. It's just a bit thinner through this midfoot area where all of that padding's taken away because there is none of the stitching, but it is basically the same material. As you run round, it then transfers again here with this kind of padded area. It's basically designed seemingly for you to be able to get kicked like really hard, and it's going to really hold your foot in place and protect you. A lot of this boot feels very substantial and very much like you would be protected, but part of that comes from the fact that, again, this is an Asia released. It's designed to be used on pitches that are in Japan that are particularly hard, so they're very detrimental to the longevity of boots, and it's also generally what is expected and what is demanded by the local market. So the local market really wants a sturdy boot that's designed to fit onto these more abrasive ground types. So something like this definitely fits in, and it doesn't go amiss in making the boot feel very sturdy and very durable. So the outer and the touch on the ball certainly have premium elements to them, certainly in the realms of leather. However, the liner on the inside certainly doesn't correspond to that same kind of feeling. Through the toe box area, it definitely feels a little bit cheap. It's that classic kind of cheap sleeping bag or cheap tent-like material that I sometimes reference. It's not quite as bad as that and the ones that you'll find on maybe the GT Pro, but it's certainly not nice, it's certainly not plush, and it's not the same as you would maybe expect from feeling the outside of the boot. And then running down through the midfoot, it is a nicer internal liner, and then that comes into a really nice large section all through the heel of the boot where you get this synthetic material. It's a synthetic suede, but it's very padded and it's very plush and gives you really nice comfort and heel lockdown. So there's no complaints in kind of the back third of the boot, and the front third of the boot just doesn't feel quite as premium as you might expect from the touch on the ball and also from the feeling in hand. However, with that said, the 442 SP is designed to be a lightweight option. That's the whole marketing and appeal of the 442 SP, is that it is a lightweight version of the HG 442. So with the feeling of that and the way that it all comes together, it does make sense. And when you consider this is a €130 boot, you really cannot complain about what you're getting here in quality terms pretty much anywhere. Taking a look at the outsole, as I said earlier, these are HG boots, so hard ground. And if you want to do a comparison, what you're really looking at here is something that more similar to what you're going to play on in terms of an AG, just in terms of the type of stud pattern you're going to get. So as you can see, there's lots of studs and they all tend to be lower in profile and they are conical. This is partly down to kind of local demand, what the local market wants, and also because of the type of ground, the hard ground, which is what this is all about. The material they've used for some of the outsole is a material called Septon. It's not one that I've come across before, and the idea is that it is supremely durable while also being lightweight. So again, plays into what I've been talking about, but the boot being designed to be lighter, this Septon material is supposed to achieve that. And in terms of durability and stability, this is actually excellent. You can see all of the areas of strengthening that run through this boot. A lot of it is interconnected together with strengthening bars. It makes it feel durable and it definitely makes it feel sturdy and stable under your feet. And you still get a tiny little toe pick stud at the front. And still talking about durability, this is a riveted sole plate. This means it's been riveted on. It's not just glue or stitching, it's rivets, which are generally a sign of kind of high quality or something that's going to be very durable. It's not always the case, and a lot of people and designers have told me that essentially the rivet here isn't going to do a lot, because if the sole's going to separate, it's going to separate here anyway, and it's still going to separate down towards where the rivet is. But it's a sign of extra craftsmanship and workmanship that has gone into this sole plate, and I can confirm after using these pretty much expressly on AG that they are an excellent boot for an AG or HG pitch. I like it a lot. In terms of the kind of spring back that you are going to get from this, it's not incredible, but you know what? It's not bad, and it does suit the type of boot, and that extra bit of stability through the midfoot did not go unnoticed, something that I did really enjoy. To help out with that stiffness and spring back, if I pull out the insole, on the inside here, there's actually a Carvo insert. So this is like a resin composite material, which is designed to act like carbon fiber, and it goes in the boot. You can actually buy things like this individually and slide them into your boots. This one's actually glued in, and I can't take it out to show you, but it runs the length of the boot, and it's simply there to provide you with a little bit more spring back and a little bit more in terms of stiffness. Now, I haven't had one of these inserts kind of in my hand just by itself, but Jay over at boothype.com has spoken to me about these before and has spoken very highly of this type of technology, and it's certainly something that I would like to get my hands on to do a full review of in the future. Like, if you run your hand down into the front of the boot, there is like 3 cutouts in there in order to allow this Carvo material to flex at a good point. It's very similar to something that I saw in pro boots. If you look at some of my pro boot reviews, the James Rodriguez ones, for example, there is a stiffening element in his boots as a pro. This has the same concept, and then the cutouts in his boots are the same as the cutouts here. So it really is a good, like really well-performing stiffening element that requires these big cutouts in the forefoot just so that you can have a good amount of spring back without the boot being too stiff. So the sole plate as a whole, including that Carvo insert, I think is actually really well put together, and this technology is something that I would definitely like to see more of, and something I will personally definitely be investigating further. So these are designed to be light. They're the lightweight version of the 442. That's what all this synthetic upper is about. So we're going to pop them on the scales, and they come in at 203 grams, and this is in a UK 8 here. 203 grams is lighter than a lot of current football boots from big brands. This is lighter than what you're going to get from an Adidas Predator, by the way, a 0.1 or a plus, and putting something like this with a leather-like upper and this real sturdy design with it's designed to be super durable at this kind of weight is actually very impressive. The value is something that I touched on earlier. It's 130 euros to do the transfer from yen, which I think is about 16,000 yen. I think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. I got mine a little bit cheaper than that. If you do want to pick up a pair, as I say, go and hit up Tokyo Football. He would be my guy for pretty much anything that's an Asia only release, and he has most things cheaper than almost anywhere I'm able to find them, so he's definitely worth following on Instagram either way. And I had Gaijin Boot Blog ship these out for me, so hugely thankful for that. But at 130 euros, I would say that these are confidently one of the best built, best quality boots that I would pick up for this kind of price point. I recently reviewed the Umbro Velocita 5. That's 150 euros, 150 pounds, sorry. And I would say the quality on this is undoubtedly better. And when you start comparing it to the 0.2 and pro level boots that are around it, maybe the GT Pro and the Ghosted 0.2, things like this feels far more premium and far more like it would be a top-end football boot. And I think that's because it hasn't tried to conform to any modern day requirements of a football boot. It's not tried to put a one-piece upper on where it's not needed. It's just made a very solid football boot with good materials and good craftsmanship. And for the amount of money you would pay for this, I think it's excellent. I'm really quite impressed by the value for money here. Of course, with a boot that is of this style, you're not expecting to get a super tight fit or anything like that. You're not expecting speed boot style tight wrap with a barefoot touch and really super responsive, and that's not really what you're going to get at all. The responsiveness is actually decent. The lockdown is okay for a boot of this style, and the Soleplate really helps out the responsiveness here. I like this a lot, and it's more of a comfortable boot. It's just very enjoyable to wear. It's easy to just put on, go out and play in, and forget that you are wearing it, in terms of there's not any areas that are going to rub or be uncomfortable. And maybe that's something that more brands need to be looking at, is a boot that is just going to do the job you want it to do. The touch is a little bit on the classy side, a little bit on the plush side. It's not barefoot, but there's definitely enough feedback and sensation so that you don't feel disconnected from the ball. And as I say, for a boot of this style, I think this is very well put together. And then when you throw in the cost of it, it's kind of hard to criticize, to be honest. And it's a boot I've really enjoyed wearing. And part of that is because I don't get to wear boots like this too often. So moving into something like this has been very enjoyable. But I don't have many criticisms of this boot. I've really enjoyed wearing it. In terms of the sizing, true to size should fit you absolutely fine. I mentioned recently that I've kind of changed my sizing up because of a few problems I've had, and I've had these for a good while. So these are actually running slightly long on me now, which is a shame. But true to size is my advice for these. If you do have a wide foot, it's absolutely going to fit you. If you want something that's going to be super tight and hug your foot, this isn't going to be the boot for you, just because of the construction, the way it's built. There is plenty of width through the midfoot. The lacing system, it runs nice and deep, so you get that adjustability all the way down, which also helps the lockdown. And then the toe box does kind of taper into a point a little bit, but there's still going to be plenty of room in there for pretty much everybody. So true to size, but don't expect mercurial type tight fitting. This will do its job. Just look at it and you know exactly what you're supposed to be expecting here. A boot that I have really enjoyed, to the point where I will definitely be looking to pick up another pair of these just to use generally. This is a boot I would happily throw on to train in, to play a pickup game in, I might even take them into a game should the ground type require it. And especially if I'm on an AG pitch, I think this is really, really fantastic. It's just a comfortable boot that's easy to wear, that does everything well. Okay, is it the best boot you're ever going to put on, pick up and wear? No, absolutely not. But if you're looking to spend 100, 130 euros and pick up a boot that is going to do everything you want it to do, I don't really think you can go far wrong here. Do let me know what you think. Put your questions and opinions down in the comments for me. Of course, do get subscribed to the channel if you haven't done already. I do have some more Japan only releases coming. I've got something from ASICS, and of course do like the video if you haven't done already, and head over to patreon.com/BootWizard, where you can kind of have a say in how the channel is run, and most importantly do support us, which I really, really appreciate. But that's all from me here at BootWizard today. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon.